Angela Carter's collection of short stories, The Bloody Chamber, was written in the late 1970s, amidst the rise of second-wave feminism, and so masculinity was already a concept widely discussed and a topic jam-packed with controversy. One way in which Angela Carter explores the idea of masculinity is by presenting it as animalistic and predatory, and this is shown throughout these stories. In The Bloody Chamber, the Marquis, though human, is described initially as having a dark mane and moving as softly as if all his shoes had soles of velvet, despite being a big man, which instigates the idea of some skillful predator creeping up on its prey. This is further backed by Cornelia Maxiniuk, who, in her essay Sartorial Rhetoric and Gender Roles in Angela Carter, described the relationship between the heroine and the Marquis as evocations of predatory masculinity and of women as passive. Later on in the story, the mother shoots him just as she had disposed of a man-eating tiger, which then draws a connection between the Marquis and the awful tiger, both becoming symbols of ravenous masculinity. Masculinity is also displayed as predatory further in the collection, in The Company of Wolves, in which the huntsman is found out to be a werewolf with eyes of a beast of prey and a feral muzzle, making him seem beastly and dangerous. However, once he has been out-dominated by the girl, since she knew she was nobody's meat, he is then described as the tender wolf, insinuating it was not his physical appearance which made him animalistic and predatory, but rather his urge to assert male dominance over women.
Masculinity is also evident in female characters in The Bloody Chamber. Through a feminist lens, the mother in The Bloody Chamber embodies the new woman, as she does not comply to the feminine mystique, as instead of staying at home, she's wild and takes on a typical masculine role in fairy tales by saving the damsel in distress, i.e. protagonist. Her empowerment seems to emasculate the piano tuner, addressing Hermione Greer's comment that as we rack along our female road to freedom, men are not free. Alternatively, the blind piano tuner could showcase his removal from a male gaze, as he's oblivious to the system of patriarchy. This highlights Carter's hope for the possibility of an equal relationship between genders, through introducing masculinity as a concept rather than a construct, thus has the possibility to be deconstructed. This idea is extended through the stories in the collection, in particular in The Lady of the House of Love. Again, the gender roles are reversed, with the Countess preying on the cyclist stuck in a closed circuit of acting masculine, yet still having the feminine quality of beauty that's an abnormality. The cyclist's ability to dab the blood with his handkerchief subverts the scarlet letter, as he takes on the Countess's shame, allowing her to be cured of all her nightmares. Through accepting his virginity, arguably he overcomes toxic masculinity, saving both genders, re-emphasizing masculinity as a concept rather construct. Overall, in both stories, masculinity is deconstructed within males and females, to highlight Carter's hopes for females to feel empowered by it, and males to not become hyperfixated.
Within the novel, Dracula's masculinity is presented through the destruction of femininity, as he embodies the typical beliefs of the fin de siècle period. There is an underlying female power that needs to be destroyed in order to return their purity and depth. At face value, the male characters seem to be leading the hierarchy, whilst the background female transformations ultimately embody the main emotional power within the novel. For example, Lucy's death is described to have given back part of her beauty, to suggest that the characterization of the new woman is better off dead than alive, highlighting Dracula's fears of female empowerment. This is also presented through the Victorian practice of memento mori photography, which is designed to remind the viewers of the morality of life. However, Stoker does not just focus on female characters alone, but also the embodiment of femininity, shown through Renfield's death. He's shown as a threat to Dracula, as he's a part of the other with his mental illness. His death juxtaposes as it's presented to be brutally violent with such feminine analysis, as well as a glittering pool of blood. Overall highlighting Dracula's insecurities in the novel, as he targets the ideology of femininity and the threat of the other.
In the novel Dracula, Bram Stoker explores how the other and the new woman are responsible for the crisis of masculinity present in Victorian society in England. This is represented through the character of Van Helsing. Van Helsing is the leader of the Crew of Light. He is dominant and authoritarian. However, he is not from England. This alludes to the crisis of masculinity and the fear of the other in English society, as this main source of male power comes from another country, not from England. This alludes to the fear of change and not being strong enough in the future. However, this idea is contested through the character of Dracula. Although at face value, Dracula appears to be a strong and intimidating character, Dracula only takes on female victims in Renfield, a mental asylum patient. This contests the extent of Dracula's power, as it suggests that he is not strong enough to take on male characters in The Victim of Light. Similarly, when Jonathan travels to Transylvania, he becomes weak, effeminate, and submissive, seen in his encounter with the brides of Dracula, in which the brides take an assertive and leading position in the encounter. Jonathan is emasculated by the dominant, grotesque depictions of the widely contested new women who were sexually liberated. As well as being new women, these women are also from another country. This reaffirms the fear of the other, as it is new women from a foreign country who take advantage of Jonathan, seen to be the representation of England. These traits seem to emasculate Jonathan and make him docile, illustrating the threat strong women who take on typically male characteristics present to the idealized Victorian version of masculinity.